Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a boutique exclusive from Grand Seiko. This is the Grand Seiko Spring Drive GMT from the Elegance collection, reference SBGE225. So it's 40.2 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel. You can see it's 14.5 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. This is just the case. It's going to be 48.3 millimeters from end link to end link. Total distance across the wrist is 52.1 millimeters. We have a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. This is a good looking watch, and it wears nicely on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. It would wear even better if it were on a strap, but with the solid end links of the bracelet increasing the span, I would say I recommend this watch for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger with the bracelet. It would be about 13.5 to 14 if the watch were on a more flexible strap. So keep that in mind, depending on how you want to wear it. It could wear more compact on a strap. It's not a thin watch, but nor is it an offensively thick one. And with a little bit of a slope to the bezel and the crystal, it should slide underneath most cuffs and certainly underneath all kinds of jacket cuffs. The bracelet is high grade. It's quasi-integrated, which is to say it's nothing like a Nautilus or a Royal Oak, but like a Rolex, it has a conforming end link to better mate it to the case profile. We have here a little bit of a hybrid of a dress and a sports design, as we do have a 3 primary link profile with beefy links. But we've also got these narrow polished intermediates. We've got a rolled bevel on the side, polished outer faces. So in terms of integrity, it's very much a sports bracelet, though it has the elegance, as per the Elegance collection origins of the watch, that you might expect on a dress bracelet. Now you can see removable links are fixed by screws, and we do have intermediate size links in the bracelet in case you're in between size, which can be useful for getting the perfect fit. We have a thick gauge steel single swing arm folding clasp. You can see outboard we have the GS logo with satin media blasting and polish all on this bottom plate. Twin trigger release. You must press both triggers to pop it open. It can't open accidentally. All along those lines, the watch is 100 meters water resistant, so it does have a lot of the characteristics of a sports watch. We've got a lovely vintage inspired Grand Seiko logo on the crown. And then we've got these lugs that are broken out from the case band like a vintage watch, and the Elegance collection watches at Grand Seiko have a little bit of an intentional air of the original 1960 Grand Seiko product, the 3180, and so you do have a little bit of the profile of that watch in the case band. You can also see that there's some nuance. We've got satination and polishing on the bezel. We've also got beveling, satination, and polish on the lugs. And the case is mirror finished using a tin plate polishing method that Grand Seiko calls Zaratsu. Now, it's the Japanese word for Zalitz machine polishing, which is European in origin, but this manual tin plate polish is practiced at the highest level in Japan. The foremost practitioners of this art are the folks at Grand Seiko, and it takes 3 years to master this kind of mirror polishing with a tin plate, so this is very much a artisanally handcrafted watch. Now, moving inboard, you can see we have a dramatically domed sapphire designed to look like a vintage 1960s Grand Seiko plexiglass, and it actually does achieve that quite effectively while still being just as scratch resistant as sapphire. The dial is a metallic sunburst that I would have described as champagne, but officially Grand Seiko calls this cream. Now, there are a couple of different colored elements here. First, you have the cream dial base. You have the red of the tail end of the power reserve scale. We have a lovely blued steel secondary time zone. We have printed blue numerals with blue indices, and then we have GMT in blue, as well as most of the power reserve scale there also in blue. So there's a little bit of color on this dial. And then we also have lovely hands and indices, and it's really worth pointing this out because this is where Grand Seiko sets it apart from everyone in the luxury space. Only Rolex comes close to Grand Seiko in terms of actual dial quality, but whereas the Grand Seiko dials are extensively hand-finished, the Rolex dials are not. They look similar in quality, but there's a lot more artistry that goes into making the Grand Seiko dial, and that means that all of these little components, which are mirror polished and faceted, and I really do mean micro-faceted, these are all executed on diamond-tipped milling tools by hand by artisans who just create these parts all day long. You can see how the Dauphine hands at center are mirrored across their top and flanks, and then we have these razor-like facets on the side, and that's true of each one of the indices, all of which are placed by hand. So this is really a surpassing act of artisanal craftsmanship. Now you can see the seconds hand glides smoothly. That's because spring drive doesn't tick or tock. It doesn't have steps. It doesn't have beats or a rate in any conventional sense. It has a unidirectional rotating governing wheel, and that governing wheel is connected on one end of the train to the mainspring barrel, which provides the kinetic energy, and then it's connected on the opposite side to a drivetrain that runs the hands. So even though there is a quartz oscillator in this watch, which gets woken up by the induced electrical current produced by the governing wheel, the actual drive, all the motive force, is provided by the mainspring barrel. There are no batteries in this watch, no capacitors, no stepper motors, and because the governing wheel turns only in one direction, the sweep of the hand that it drives is perfectly smooth, and it has an accuracy of 15 seconds per month. Remember, a mechanical chronometer is +6, -4 per 24 hours. So the quality of the timekeeping here is really outstanding, given that this is an entirely watchmaker-built, watchmaker-tuned, and when the time comes, watchmaker-serviced movement. It is not a disposable piece of consumer electronics. This is a for-life movement, not just for the life of the owner, but the life of the watch, which can last decades longer than a human life. It is also a dual time. And so we have this ability to adjust the local hand independently, date forward or backwards, depending on whether you're traveling east or west. It does not stop the advance of the minute hand, the secondary time zone, or the seconds hand. Now I pull the crown out, I activate hacking, I can set everything in sync. And you see I have two separate time zones. I have my 12-hour local time zone and my 24-hour second time zone. I can set these two things to different times. The movement on the reverse side is mostly mechanically finished, though it is hand adjusted and assembled. You can see it's attractive though, and there's a display case back that helps to illustrate how it works. As the wheel turns in a magnetic field, it creates an induced electrical current. That's where the energy to operate the quartz oscillator comes from. Again, no batteries or capacitors in here. All of the energy starts as spring potential energy in the barrel, and it is a very, very special system that's unique to Grand Seiko and Seiko. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details, and realize that this is not one but two complications, as we have both that second time zone and the power reserve indicator for the automatically wound 72-hour power reserve. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing.